Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Star Citizen Alpha 3.6 initial release anyway has been scaled down, but it still contains a lot of new content, and today we're going to go over its features and that content in some detail, as well as look at updates coming in the same branch but before 3.7, so like in the 3.6.x patches that we're going to get in between. The lore system and the black market economy are probably the major part of gameplay additions in Alpha 3.6. The lore system here will be the foundations for the future lore and security systems that will be improved and expanded on over the next few quarters. They have 19 laws that they've currently defined, from murder to possession of stolen goods. Different crimes have different punishments and responses from NPC security forces. There will be jurisdictions that define the areas that a security force will come after you within and what constitutes a crime in that area, which will potentially be different from each area of space you go to. Obviously, some areas might not have any law or not detect laws. Detection and dispatch mechanics will in turn then activate local security and bounty hunters to go after the lawbreaker. You will be unable to sell narcotics or stolen goods to normal vendors. There will be some fences, a trader of stolen items around the Stanton system though. It sounds like there might be up to 2 for each sort of planetary area to sell those stolen goods and narcotics to. So you're looking at like ArcCorp, Crusader, Hurston, all having a couple of these sort of like guys that will purchase these items off you around the planet somewhere. I mean, there might be one of the moons, they might be somewhere else on a space station, somewhere like that. Grimhex almost certainly will be one of those locations by Yella, just because it's very outlaw. I would also expect like Delamar, Levski to be one of those areas, but and maybe others are on some of the rest stops or new space stations. They talked about salvage yards being part of these locations as well, where you can sell stolen items. Whether these locations are in 3.6 does remain to be seen, but it is certainly implied that they will be there, so expect some new location types potentially, and stolen goods will only sell for a fraction of their original price. It's also currently unknown if players can scan a ship with stolen cargo or narcotics on. Will they be able to detect that that's illegal cargo, and if it's a stolen ship, and then engage appropriately in 3.6, or will that be something that only NPCs can do? Because security forces will search for stolen and illicit items and respond appropriately, while NPCs and shops will be able to distinguish between legitimate and stolen merchandise with the system. CIG have said that if you're discovered with stolen goods or narcotics, then you'll have a choice to lose the goods and pay a fine, or fight, or run. Security may bring in reinforcements and interdict the player so they can't leave until they have dealt with the ship blocking their quantum travel or got far enough away from it. So it does sound like it's a much more in-depth system than what we have previously had. And they do want to add prisons in the next couple of quarters. Once they've arrested a player or taken them out, I suppose, they may put them in one of those areas. Prisons will have some gameplay attached to them as well. Ship station exterior updates. So they're expanding the size and sort of like the diversity of the core space stations, and making their modular sections and components all part of this procedural generation of stations. And this is going to have a lot of different looks for rest stops and other points of interest in game, eventually branching out into things like cargo depots, larger stations, abandoned facilities, and mission areas. We will start to see this in 3.6 with lots of different variety of stations. Alpha 3.7 will then actually see the interiors get more work for those stations, and then marry both of those updates together. It also looks like some of these stations have ship-to-station docking ports, which will be extremely important for when they finish that tech, which is currently planned for 3.8, allowing larger, cumbersome or damaged ships to dock with stations that they would not otherwise be able to land on a pad with because they're, too large or whatever. As part of ongoing improvements to procedural planet and generation tech, there is several distribution and ecosystem pipeline improvements with the unification of terrain and distribution maps, ecosystem modeling at the global planetary level, and several updates to terrain blending. There's the harvestable entity spawning, which is an automated system to spawn harvestable entities on planets, moons, and asteroid fields. Basically, this can deal with the appropriate spawning of minables, plants, loot, help fill in areas full of content. Other examples of this are things like when we have farming gameplay in the future, the growing of plants, that sort of jazz, and the collection of scavenging of berries or space fruit, whatever. Planets and the gameplay area are going to get more and more updates, visual improvements, and additional content, with features like these getting built upon each patch, and they're currently working on the procedural generation Tech V4 and sort of like the VFX and cool stuff and effects for that as well. The new ship purchasing kiosks are in 3.6 as well. These are to give the player the ability to buy a wide range of ships and vehicles from a designated kiosk that were previously unavailable. The inventories available will differ based on location. We know that one of these sort of like purchasing kiosks will be in Astro Armada on ArcCorp Area 18, and apparently this is gonna... all these kiosks across the standard system in 3.6 will cover the majority of flyable ships, but we'll have to wait and see. In addition to further flight model updates and some balance, we're going to see the new hover and VTOL modes, vertical takeoff and landing, which will vastly improve the behavior of ships flying at low speeds in gravity and atmosphere, while going below a certain speed in atmosphere or where there's gravity, like on a landing pad, a ship will direct its thrusters downwards to stay aloft. This will have the ship acting more like a helicopter. Tilting forward will move you forward. Building up enough speed will have you go back into a more traditional flight mode. They have brought back acceleration control for this as well, allowing you to dial in the precise percentage of thrust or acceleration in increments effectively, rather than just the velocity control that we previously had. So you'll be able to do more fiddly maneuvers and softer landings without bouncing your ship really aggressively into the floor when you're rapidly tapping like control or whatever to go down. We have the Vanguard Warden rework, and all its variants are also getting reworked, but we're not going to see all of them in 3.6. Basically, it got a much larger rework than was originally intended. They've brought it much more in line with its original vision and concept of the ship. It has its glowing intakes at the front again now for a much more aggressive look. Its internals have been made wider, and it has a wider ramp too, shoulder-mounted missile launchers. Expect balance and loadouts changes. There is a component room leading out of the cockpit. Lots of the components are very accessible just from literally just going out of your cockpit chair. The central module now has station access, allowing you to access the ship's systems in there. There are weapons racks, armor and suit storage, 2 beds, a toilet room, turret access, and the central rooms will be changed for each of the variants. The hoplite has also been updated as well, and is assumed, at least by me, to be updated for 3.6 as well. I'm not exactly sure where the turret access is in the Vanguard Warden, but it's possible that the central control room might even connect to it remotely now. Have to wait and see. The snub defense fighter, for lack of a better phrase or term for them, the P-52 is getting an update which includes improvements to its landing gear compression, materials updates, and a balance change. Its sister ship, the P-72 Archimedes, which is the more expensive luxury version, is also being made flight ready. These are both snubcraft and don't have a quantum drive, so you can only leave the area that they're spawned in on conventional engines, or if they're being carried by another ship. And the functionality for them to be properly parasite docked with a constellation will not be in-game for 3.6. We require at least ship-to-ship docking in-game, which is currently planned for 3.8. Whether or not it will make 3.8 is a different story entirely. They are testing a new flight HUD in 3.6, with just the Aegis Gladius to start with, and then it will be rolled out to more ships in the future. This includes indicators for velocity, G-force, afterburner, ESP, and some new mechanics such as thruster, strength limiter, and radar altimeter, all in, improved, changed, all that sort of stuff. So very interested to see what they've got with the Aegis Gladius in 3.6. There is shield systems tech that replaces the old legacy shields with the new signed distance field tech to allow for future implementation of a more dynamic form-fitting visual and effects for everything, as well as improved performance for collision. So this will also more appropriately represent, at least in 3.6, different types of shields. If you've got more than one type of shield on a ship that can take more than one, they will interact in an interesting way. The plans for this are to eventually have better looking shields that hug the hull much more closely and deform if the ship gets damaged. It's also expected to come with new VFX and graphic improvements too. Not sure entirely what we're getting for 3.6 in regard to all of that, but some of those features for the shield systems tech. Obviously, they will be iterated upon, and whether it's just some of it there for 3.6 or all of it is another matter. We'll have to wait and see. They are adding proper misfire events, which can cause items to cease working or perform unexpectedly. This is based on them being overheated or worn. A thruster might cut out for a second or more, which could be critical if you are in atmosphere or in combat and need to turn quickly. This is combined with degradation improvements v2 that ties wear and misfire mechanics together better, as well as visualizes wear on items. There is a new weapon attachments feature coming as well, allowing player-controlled customization for personal weapons, adding different attachments to guns such as scopes and grips. This feature will allow the customization of players' FPS arsenal in real time. There is 4 major categories for weapon customization we currently know about: underbarrel, barrel, sights, and magazines, which we should all be able to play with, and they are planning lots and lots more development of that feature in the future. Probably connected to this as well is the new player carryables v2. This has improvements to how the player picks up and carries items. This will give characters greater interaction with certain items in the way that you hold them, look at them, and potentially more complex operation with them as well. It will improve and add dynamic grips, so the player can hold several different types of object in different ways, more, appropriately look correct. The example commonly given is holding a helmet under your arm, but this is also going to be the interaction and inspection of your FPS weapons to probably add attachments to them. There are a couple of new FPS weapons as well, the Bearing S38 pistol, as well as the KNW Lumen V submachine gun. There is a new ship weapon series, the Maxox NN neutron repeaters, to add to the neutron cannons we already have in the game. I believe it's actually focusing on size 1 to 3 in 3.6. So we should see those smaller size of weapons there. There are various animation and ragdoll improvements in the patch as well. Player Jump V2 will improve the look and feel of the current jump mechanic, including falling and landing, with new animation time warping tech that reduces the number of individual animations as well, so that should actually improve performance somewhat. There's ragdoll property improvements such as joint limits, collision, and other physical parameters. They're getting some love, and the simulation will now react to them more accurately and appropriately, including in 0G, and I suspect eventually as well in water once they add that to the game. Player free look will give players greater control of their view, so they can basically look away from their weapon while they are aiming, decoupling your head from where your gun's pointing pretty much. The transit system v2 sees improvements to the system, allowing players to transfer between various map sections such as doors, elevators, planetary transport, and airlocks, hopefully cleaning up a lot of issues with them as well and making them more efficient too. The client to server actor networking rework is a major network and server improvement. This helps better communicate player actions from the client to the server. This is improvements to the upstream part of the actor networking responsible for communicating player actions from the local client to the server. This is going to pave the way for downstream improvements and solve a variety of validation issues. It makes the server authoritative rather than the client, which was what we previously had in 3.6. So the server here is now in charge. It says where the player is and where everything else is from the server's point of view. If someone has a poor connection or lag, they suffer rather than everyone else around them. So the server knows where they are and tracks that. So you shouldn't see players rubber banding around, and you should have a better, more accurate sort of hit reg, and this should work really well with the animation and character updates, giving a much better looking experience in-game. This tech is also a prerequisite of server-side object container streaming, full persistence, and server meshing, which is core to the game, and some of those additional server improvements are hopefully coming this year. 3.6 will also see the asynchronous disconnection refactor. This is going to clean up a lot of bugs, such as infinite loading screens, server crashes, client crashes, while also helping to assure that more of those issues don't occur in the future. It's just general improvements to the server. The Anvil Valkyrie is getting a limited cargo grid in 3.6 as well. They're updating the ship to be able to take some cargo. They did emphasize that you're not going to be able to stack the cargo crates really high. It is a limited amount. So the whole of the rear bay is not just going to be available for that purpose. You can only have like one layer high of cargo, but it's still a major improvement to the ship. And it is expected that you'll be able to take a medium-sized vehicle or some cargo, or a small vehicle like a Tumble Ranger or a bike or something, and a little bit of cargo. But I'm very excited that they actually listened to the community and put that addition to the ship there. There were various VoIP and VoIP, face over IP and voice over IP improvements in 3.6. In addition to quality of life and bug fix updates, it will allow you to hail other ships and chat with them on comms and screens much more effectively. You'll be able to have separate channels to talk to your squad mates, and they hope that VoIP and VoIP will be much more widely used in 3.6. You'll be able to communicate with players that you've requested or responded to a service beacon of, for example, much more easily. There will be general performance and bug fix updates. Alpha 3.5's branch was extremely buggy and relatively poor gameplay-wise compared to 3.4, but a good lot of those issues that weren't solved in 3.5.1 should make it into the 3.6 patch. There is a confirmed 3.6.x patch or patches coming as well at some point after 3.6 goes live, but before 3.7. This will contain the 890 jump, the massive 199-meter Origin luxury ship, which will be the largest flyable ship that we have in game when it becomes flyable. Obviously, there are larger ones planned, but it's the largest one we're going to have in the meantime. I believe it can fit on the largest landing pads that we'll have in 3.6, as ship-to-station docking won't be available until 3.8, so that sort of makes sense. But it is a massive ship. Ship rentals are the other thing that are coming in a 3.6.x update. This has been one of the features that I've been most looking forward to. This will see the ability to rent various ships for short increments of time for an affordable amount of in-game currency. With both the ship purchase consoles and rentals, we don't actually have confirmation of exactly what ships will be available in the 3.6 branch. It could potentially be that most, if not all, of the flyable ships in game. There might be some restrictions, like the Aspiro range, or they might make certain ships very, very rare or very, very expensive. So just bear that in mind. Things that we will not be seeing in the 3.6 branch are mission sharing, the V2 of the character customizer, the Bounty Defender, some of the major AI updates. Although I am expecting there to be tweaks to get the AI more functional than it was in the 3.5.1 branch, and I am expecting and hoping that some of these server improvements they've got with 3.6 will help with that as well. Most of those mentioned updates, though, that aren't coming in 3.6 will be coming with 3.7. We don't know when mission sharing will drop on the roadmap, though, but it's quite possible for 3.7. Again, we'll have to wait and see. I'm extremely excited about Alpha 3.6, but then I'm excited about any of the major releases. The lore system and black market could provide a lot more gameplay for Outlaws pirates, and then also on the lawful side, escorting for ships, responding to distress signals, bounty hunting, as well as potentially helping clear up the streets of stolen goods and narcotics. The server improvements there as well, making the server authoritative and making that massive needed step towards server-side object container streaming. I'm hoping that we see a good amount of server improvements and bug improvements and AI improvements and things like that in 3.6 when it comes to gameplay loops that were sort of like broken or bits of the game not working as intended more than anything else. I'm also expecting the Evocati release of 3.6 by or around the 21st of June, so that would be this Friday for the weekend, with a live build of 3.6 by the end of the month, or at least a wider PTU with everyone with a game package having access by then. It does look like they may very well make that deadline to getting 3.6 out by the end of the month, but again, we'll have to wait and see. I'm interested to know your thoughts, though. Are you still excited by the 3.6 patch? Has too much of it been moved to 3.7 and later patches or whatever that sort of like made you a bit more disappointed? If you're excited about anything, what particular aspects of the patch are you excited about? Is it the lore system? Is it the black market? The additional gameplay? Are you just expecting and looking forward to the game being more playable and fixing some of that broken stuff that was in 3.5? With the 3.6.x patch or patches, are you expecting anything else in addition to the 890 jump and ship rentals? Do you think they'll chuck in some more stuff? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Every month we have a ship giveaway. For June, we have an Origin 890 jump, the massive luxury ship that is a huge sort of like capital luxury ship. It's been donated by Odyssey Interstellar, a friendly industrial expansionist organization in Star Citizen that focus on mining, trading, industry, exploration, research, and infrastructure. In short, commerce is their goal. They run regular weekly events in-game now. Please check them out if you are looking for an org to join, links down below. There are a couple of services I shield for as well that you might find useful. If you're looking for a VPN, then check out NordVPN. I use it for security, privacy, and more. It has massive advantages over free VPNs. And if you use the code BoredGamer, you get up to 75% off your subscription. Boom! Also, there is Shadow Cloud Gaming. This is an alternative to having your own or upgrading your gaming rig on PC. It leverages the power of the internet and your own Shadow server that emulates a high-spec Windows 10 PC, so you can play up to 144Hz 4K anywhere with an old PC, laptop, smartphone, or even tablet. Freedom to play anywhere. The internet is good enough anyway, and it works really well with Star Citizen and all the games that I play, and is constantly updated and even improved with new hardware. Again, use the code BoredGamer for discount. Links below to all of that jazz. Thank you to all that support the channel through Patreon, the YouTube join button, donation, subscribe star, as well as anyone that just generally subscribes, likes, comments, and shares my content. Dings that bell, ding ding. If you feel so inclined, you can find links to all of that down below. A special thank you though to my VIP producers this month: Dalamars, Catastrus, Raz, Gear Khan, General Ventador, Robert Johnson, and Andy Green, who have given well beyond the norm in support for the channel. I know a load of other people have, but I can't name them all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the verse.